Hi guys, so I'm going to do a short video. I'm hoping to make this video about 15 minutes or so, but I'm going to discuss some of the wintertime fishing patterns that I've been kind of seeing on Lake Dunlap lately. So anyways, we're going to take a look first at Chrome here, and we're not going to look at the Mendelssohn Concerto. Actually, we're going to look at, let's take a peek here at Navionics. So this is definitely like this is like more like a fishing report. Like, let's see here, chart viewer. Let's move this over a little bit. So this is really, I guess I want to start doing these more regularly, like just a weekly fishing report if possible. Give some tips and stuff, and I call this winter fishing. This is like a winter fishing video because it's like late winter, early pre-spawn. So let me zoom in here to the lake that I normally fish. I mean, I fish several different lakes mainly, but let's look at Lake Dunlap here. So I put in up here. This is like a little corner up here by they call it Schuman's Beach, right around here. But anyway, so the dam is over here, and the first thing, I mean, I know people know this spot, so I know it's all good, but the first thing that stood out to me is I know that there's like this little peninsula looking deal right here, and this is all like a super shallow grass flat. And I actually drove by it the other day, and there was like a whole bunch of like prop marks and everything. So people, when it gets low, they run over it. And anyway, here, let me close the door real quick. Hold on. Okay, excuse me. So anyway, people run over this with their prop, and this little ledge here, it drops off from like 7 to like 13 right here pretty rapidly, but this whole ledge right here is really good. There's like vegetation and stuff that goes all over this, and one of the ways that I know, obviously you can drive around on your side imaging boat and you can kind of see where a lot of the vegetation is, because on the side imaging it looks like kind of like little puffy wispy pillow looking stuff. That's all grass. But the other way is you can kind of just see little floating segments of grass that are kind of in the area, and that's it, the water's been churned up and some of the grass is broken free, and that's a grassy area generally. So that's one of the things I look for. It's not like when I first started fishing, or like early in my education of fishing, I thought you would just it was hard for me at that time to figure out where to find grass, but now I just look for where it is floating in the water in that general vicinity, and then I can kind of get an idea of where to start looking. And then also side imaging, but and then also Google Earth. But anyway, that peninsula that comes out, like there's a buoy on this tip right here, and then there's like a couple buoys along this line here, but that little edge is good. So like what you don't want to do is just fish the entire stretch, because there's individual brush piles on this break. So I wouldn't just go through there and fish the whole thing, because the fish are keyed in on the brush. That's super important, because like one of the things that you'll do is you'll say, oh well, I'm just going to pull out, like for example, one of the thought processes that you might have is I'm going to pull out a crankbait and I'm going to run the entire length of this ledge. And you could do that, but the times that you're going to get bit are the times when you intersect the brushes. So that's super key. I mean, that's just, so then you realize, okay, wow, that's super inefficient for me to just fish the whole stretch. Why don't I just drop a marker buoy in the general vicinity of the brush pile and cast over the brush pile from different angles? That's the best way to do it. Super inefficient for you to just run the whole stretch, unless it was like a rocky area, like a rocky ledge area, and it was like they were relating to the rocks more than they were to the brush. That's more of a thing where you could run the whole ledge and see what part of the ledge you get bit on, and then focus in on that part. So anyway, but the way I fish that right now is if it's windy or overcast and I feel like I look in the sky and if there's clouds, then I'll throw obviously clouds are an indicator of barometric pressure, but so if there's clouds, if it's sunny and a little bit of wind, anything that's going to activate the fish, I'll throw crankbaits initially, just to kind of locate them. And you can even just catch them doing that. It's faster, it's more efficient. So that's the first go to would be like some sort of power fishing strategy. And then the second strategy that I would use is, it's tough in the wintertime right now because you don't get a whole ton of bites to tell you what to do. But, it's like tempting for me to want to use a drop shot because I'm really like pretty good with the drop shot. That's one of my best strengths. So, but the problem is you get hung up easy and it's just really difficult. So then you're like, okay, well, do I throw a Carolina rig or do I throw like a shaky head? The Carolina rig needs to have a lightweight sinker and, just heavy enough to just get down to the trees, to the brush pile. Any heavier and you're going to get snagged with the Carolina rig. It's super easy too because the fish, they can pick up your bait and swim in and out of the limbs and everything and you'll just lose it. So maybe the best would be like a shaky head, but you can kind of mess around and see what you're comfortable with. That's just my preference, or like a really light jig. That's another really good one. But so there's that. I try to fish these docks right here on this little, like where the lines get super tight right here on this corner. This is a really good corner. A lot of people fish it, but I try to fish that area. But the problem is that a lot of, even just all the way through here, this channel swing, it's the outside edge of the creek channel, like the not the inside of the creek bend, but the outside, so it's steeper near the bank. But this is really like the key area, I would say, at least for the summertime. So I tried fishing it in the wintertime, and the biggest thing is that there's not enough sunlight. Like the angle of the sun doesn't make its way over to that spot really well, um, like it would in the summer, I guess. So I don't know. That's to me not as good right now because I fished a couple times and it's just not. There may be one or two docks that have a different level of platform or something that get more sunlight, but that's obviously not really. So like I said, the brush piles on this point, that's really good right now. Let's see here. Just kind of give you an idea where I'm at. I go up here a good ways. On all of these outside river bends, I'm sorry, this is just hard to control on the laptop. On all these river bends, okay, perfect. What I like to do on the outside is look for concrete walls that are closer to deeper water that get a lot of sunlight. The docks may not, but maybe there's concrete that gets exposed, like little seawalls and stuff, where they make a little point, they jut out a little bit more from the bank than normal. That's good. Points like this is 18, it looks like, on top, or wait, 19. Okay, so 19, it's like a little hole kind of, and it comes up a little shallower, but it's like a little dip. It gets deeper towards the center here. Stuff like that, where you got these contour lines really tight in here. I'd fish all around this area, not necessarily right here, because realistically, you're not gonna idle your boat around here and look in this area for like offshore fish. To me, either you're on the bank or you're, out here. It's weird to like idle right next to the boat docks unless you're looking for brush underneath the docks. And I don't think that that's really significant enough of a contour like picture, like of an image that I think would draw them structure wise. I think it would be more about this dip in here where it gets deeper, and maybe like where it kind of like V's in right here. Maybe that's a good spot. Maybe where it kind of tapers on the edge here. That could be good. Out here where it flares out a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really had a ton of look on that area. I've got a couple bites, but they were non-committal. I don't know if it's a time of day thing or what, but there's like a couple really good hard spots in this area. There's also some brush. Super, super good looking. Maybe it's good in summertime. I don't know, because it's a little deeper. The water's kind of high right now. This isn't giving a super accurate picture, but I don't know. To me, like the ideal depth range right now is like 10 to 12. I think. Let's keep looking here. This is another creek channel swing right here. this is a fish attractor or whatever, but this creek channel swing where it touches up against the bank here, there's some really good docks. These first couple docks in this area, they're not shown on here, but they're really good. I've been fishing those docks and they get a lot of sunlight. Done really good. I fished those seawalls over there too. They just get a lot of the angle the sun takes. It gets a lot of sun on that bank. This is a little shallow pocket that I know that they spawn in. And so, since they're getting prepared for spawn in the wintertime, this little boat dock down here is on the outside at a creek channel swing. It's at the outside at the mouth of the creek, out here towards deeper water. So that dock's always really good. It's isolated also, that makes it better. But this little small dock over here is not good. I don't know why. I think it's too shallow right there. It looks like the creek channel really swings up close, but it's actually shallower here than it is here by a good amount. So that's not very good. I see people fish it, but it's not. It's not good. This one's the good one. Let's see here. Again, here's a little creek channel swing. Any of those bends are super significant to fish the outside of them. This little island, just once again to give you perspective, I have a hard time with this Apple computer, it's just difficult, but anyways, to give you perspective of where I'm at, this little island right here, okay, you can kind of see where it's at. Okay, great. Yeah, I need a mouse, big time. This is a little shallow spawning bay in here, kind of. I guess you'd call it a spawning bay, like a little chute or something, offshoot, like a slough kind of. And the contour lines are spread out here, but then they get tight right here. So from the transition where they're spread out to where it gets a little tight, and then across this corner, this whole area is really good. These docks, they're good right now. They get plenty of sunlight. I like it a lot. And then also on the back side here, like see how it gets tight and then it flattens out and then it gets tight again, like right in here. That's also another good couple docks that I focus on right now. They get a fair amount of sunlight. Here's an outside channel bend right here. Some of these docks get sun, some of them don't. It all depends on how tall the second levels are of some of these boathouse areas. Like there's platforms that are way up high, like on stilts kind of, and they block some of the sunlight, but there's also concrete in here, concrete walls, there's big rocks and stuff, seawalls, a lot of seawalls, but any of those seawalls that get hot, the docks that have a lot of sun, you could fish near the bottom on those docks. That's really good. This first couple docks right here outside of, once again, this little slough, outside of that, out in front of it, these docks are pretty good right in this corner. That's you've got two main veins here that converge on this point, and then directly opposite of it right here where there's deeper water slightly, these docks are great, and there's a lot of bait fish in that area right now this time of year. And then conversely, you could look at it and say, well, look, the same situation happens here, but for whatever reason it's too shallow here. This is not right. I see some people fish this corner over here right now, but a lot of times there's high sun and there's not. I think you have to focus on individual large boulders in that area because there's some broken off chunk rock and stuff, but it's got to be enough to give them protection and habitat. It's kind of a flat area over there. There's some scattered rock, but it's got to be the right type of conditions to set up, so you can come in there and catch them. But it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to look at. What else? I guess now I want to talk about the techniques that I use. Mainly, so I figured out, I know a lot of people are super advanced and they get it, it's good, but you forget things as you go. Like the more that you fish, you acquire so much information that you tend to forget things. So the one thing I can say is like in the summertime, I catch big ones, skipping jigs on the deep docks, and I'm swimming the jig, kind of popping it and stuff, and it only goes down to like the first 5 foot of the water, but it's closest to the platform. So that 5 foot water that's close to the platform, that's where the most shade is. So I catch big fish doing that in the summer. But in the wintertime, the warm water's on the bottom. So in the air on those special docks, not special docks that are closer to a channel swing that have a lot of sun, those docks I don't want to be towards the top near the platform. I want to be at the bottom level of the water, the deeper water that's warmer. That's super important right now. Like that, you could throw a jig and skip a jig and think that you're doing it right, but unless it's getting down there, they're not as aggressive this time of year, so they don't really reveal the true patterns to you. So you have to figure it out, and it's difficult because like I was tempted to put down my jig and like, why can't I figure this out? I do so good in the summer, but that's why. It's because the warm water's near the bottom. And then, not all the docks are equal. Even the docks that are on the channel swings, they're all different based on how much sunlight they're getting. And then also if there's brush in them or whatever. But what are the main things here? So the locations, the jig fishing, I told you. I also throw a jig up shallow in some of those little transition areas where there's the seawalls. They have little corners and like little cracks and crevices, or one rock kind of comes out a little bit more than the other concrete that's coming into it. Stuff like that. Also, the colors that I use. Yeah, colors that I use. I think they feed on shad and crawfish this time of year. I think it's a mixed diet depending on what's going on. When there's a lot of wind and things moving and fish are active and I could see a lot of bait, I throw more shad type presentations. If it's a situation where I'm fishing near the bottom, mostly, unless I'm cranking or something, I like to throw like a craw type pattern, like a green pumpkin jig, whatever. Super easy. I mean, everybody throws green pumpkin. That's the most basic go-to guaranteed thing. I have a jig box full of green pumpkin and black and blue, like all the other guys and pros and everything. That's the way to go. So green pumpkin, I go super light on my jigs. In the wintertime, you could go heavy. There's nothing wrong with that, but I go as light as I can get away with. And the trailer, something super basic like a beaver style trailer. I don't go with a super aggressive rage craw or anything like that. I just keep it simple. I trim up my skirt to where it doesn't interfere with the action on the trailer. Super key. But that's about it. I think that's kind of what's going on right now. I'm throwing like a little. Here, I'll show you the bait that I'm throwing. The baits that I'm throwing. The Zoom Fluke. It's not like a super fluke or anything. It's just the Zoom Fluke. 4-inch, really good on drop shot. You'll catch a lot of numbers. You're not really going to catch big fish doing this. You'll catch like a really healthy keeper, like a solid fat keeper. But I don't really catch big fish on this. What I catch bigger fish on is like a normal size fluke, and this is not the tiny fluke, by the way. This is the fluke, but like the salty super fluke that catches bigger fish. It's just got a meatier, larger profile. Crankbaits. Let's see here. Let's see. This 5XD I think is super good. The 6XD is just super aggressive. It just digs super deep on 12-pound line. Let's see. I throw it in the chartreuse perch a lot in this pretty stained water. I love that color. I have so much confidence in it. What's the other one that I throw? Oh yeah, this is the freaking deal right here. Sexy blueback herring. That's good for like slightly stained water. Not as stained as the chartreuse one that I throw, but this one for slightly stained water is the freaking deal. The jigs I throw all Strike King jigs. I'm obsessed with their profiles. I like these little bitsy flipping jigs too. These are just dirty right here. I throw like a pumpkin, whatever. Quarter ounce, I would throw like a quarter ounce, honestly, if I can get away with it. But it takes so long to get to the bottom. You could do like a 3/8, that's fine. But I would throw it honestly on the 3/8. I would throw it if you're fishing like 10 foot or less. I'd throw it on a like 15-pound test and slow it down a little bit with a larger line diameter. And then I would throw this trailer right here. Let's see. Oh, that's great. Beaver style trailer. No, I like the Bass Pro Shops Riverbug. This one is the boss right here. $3.89, super cheap. This one right here, it's just got good, like lazy, super dull, just action. It matches the speed that everything's moving at right now in the wintertime. So I throw in, man, what's it called? Not blue craw, not watermelon bluegill. No, that's not it either. No, I mean, you can throw like a, oh, it's called the General is what it's called. The General. That's what it's called. I don't know if they're gonna show it on here, but it's called the General. It's green pumpkin with like a little bit of, I think, blue flake, but it's a very subtle blue. It's not like it's a blue flake, but that's the deal right there. So I throw super as light jigs as I can get away with. I just want to maintain bottom contact, but anything more I don't like. I just want that slow fall, get down to the bottom and just kind of pop it and just drag it slow. Let it sit for a lot, just move everything slower. Even the crankbaits, I'm winding like just creeping them. But anyway, that's it for my fishing report right now. I don't want to go on and ramble on. So hope it helps.